There are roughly 750,000 people in America who have figured something out that most people will never need to know. They have figured out how to disappear in plain sight, how to park a vehicle in a public lot, fall asleep, wake up before sunrise, and drive away without a single person ever knowing they were there. And the one thing that gets you caught, the thing that ends the night with a flashlight beam through your windshield and a knuckle on the glass, it is not the location you chose. It is not the vehicle you drive. It is a pattern. And patterns, as it turns out, are the one thing you cannot afford when a parking lot is the only roof you have. Secret number 1, the 2-night rule. Ask almost anyone who has been living in a vehicle for longer than a few weeks and they will tell you the same thing without being prompted. 2 nights, maximum, in any single spot. This is the foundational rule of long-term vehicle dwelling, and it is the one that separates people who manage to stay invisible for months from people who get the knock on night 3. Here's why it works. A vehicle parked in a lot for one night is invisible. It looks like someone who worked a late shift, someone visiting a friend, someone whose flight leaves at 5 in the morning. A vehicle in the same spot for 2 nights starts to look like a coincidence. A vehicle in the same spot for 3 nights starts to look like a problem. And the moment a lot attendant, a business owner, or a resident who lives nearby decides something looks like a problem, they make a phone call. Experienced vehicle dwellers solve this with what some of them call a rotation map. It is not always a literal map, though some people do keep handwritten lists in a notebook or notes on their phone. It is a mental circuit of 6 to 10 locations spread across a radius of a few miles. A grocery store on Monday, a church lot on Tuesday, a hospital visitor parking area on Wednesday. Each spot gets 1 night, sometimes 2 if the location feels particularly safe. Then the circuit starts again. One woman in Portland who spent 14 months living in her Subaru described it this way. She said she never let herself feel comfortable enough in any one spot to get lazy about moving. The moment a place started to feel like home, she knew it was time to go. That sounds brutal. It is brutal, but it is also the thing that kept her invisible for over a year. Secret number 2, the blend-in vehicle. Here is something that is almost funny until you think about it too hard. The vehicle that draws the least attention in a parking lot overnight is almost always a plain white cargo van or a dark-colored minivan with no markings, no curtains visible from outside, and nothing on the dashboard. Not a decorated RV with a bumper sticker collection and a welcome mat. Not a van with a rooftop cargo box and a bike rack. Not a vehicle that looks like it belongs in a national park. A vehicle that looks like it belongs in a parking lot. This sounds obvious. It is not obvious to everyone. Plenty of people new to vehicle dwelling make the mistake of buying a van and immediately making it look like a van someone lives in. Custom curtain rods, roof vents, solar panels mounted on top, all of those things are practical and useful inside the vehicle. And every single one of them is a flag from the outside. The people who stay invisible, the longest drive vehicles that are common in whatever neighborhood they are parking in. A white cargo van in a commercial district looks like it belongs to a plumber who parked after a late job. A minivan in a suburban grocery store lot looks like it belongs to a parent who had a long day. A beat-up sedan in a working-class neighborhood looks like it belongs to someone who lives nearby. The goal is not to look like you are hiding. The goal is to look like you are exactly where you are supposed to be. There is a difference, and experienced vehicle dwellers understand it intuitively after about the first week. One man in Los Angeles who spent nearly 2 years living in a gray Honda Odyssey said he spent $40 at a hardware store on magnetic signs that said Williams Electrical Services with a fake phone number. He stuck them to both sides of the van every night before sleeping and peeled them off every morning. Nobody ever knocked. Secret number 3, arrive late, leave early. This one seems simple. It is simple. And it is still the rule that gets broken most often by people who are exhausted, discouraged, and just want to stop for the night. The window that experienced vehicle dwellers swear by is this: arrive no earlier than 10:30 or 11 at night. Leave no later than 6 in the morning. Ideally before 6. Ideally before the first employee shows up for an early shift, before the dog walkers come out, before the delivery trucks pull in. The reason is straightforward. The hours between roughly 7 in the evening and 10 at night are when lots are still active enough that someone parking a vehicle and staying in it will be noticed. And the hours after 6 in the morning are when the lot transitions from empty to occupied again, which means eyes, movement, and people who might wonder why that same car has been sitting in the same spot since before they went to bed. The late arrival, early departure strategy also aligns with something vehicle dwellers call the attention window. Most security sweeps of commercial parking lots happen in two clusters, once around midnight to 1 in the morning and once around 5 to 6 in the morning. Arriving after the first sweep and leaving before the second one closes the gap considerably. There is also a psychological component to this. A vehicle that was not in a lot at 10 at night and is gone by 6 in the morning existed, for all practical purposes, for about 7 hours that nobody was paying attention to. It did not park. It did not stay. It was just there, briefly, between the time the lot emptied and the time it filled again. That is the version of invisibility that costs nothing and requires no special equipment, just a working alarm and the discipline to actually get up when it goes off. Secret number 4, the Walmart myth and the big box reality. For a long time, conventional wisdom said Walmart was the answer. Park in a Walmart lot overnight and nobody bothers you. That was mostly true for a long time. Walmart's corporate policy for many years was to allow overnight parking as a courtesy to travelers. That policy has been quietly rolled back in many locations. Individual store managers now make that call, and in urban and suburban locations across the country, the answer has increasingly been no. Some stores have installed signs, some have hired overnight security specifically to address it. Some call local police on a rotation basis. This does not mean big box retail lots are useless overnight. It means you have to know which ones are actually welcoming and which ones have changed. Home Depot and Lowe's locations in certain markets have become more reliably quiet overnight than Walmart, partly because they do not have the same reputation and therefore do not attract the same volume of vehicles. A Lowe's parking lot at 2 in the morning in a mid-sized city is one of the quieter places you can find. Most of them have minimal overnight staff, no dedicated security patrol, and enough ambient lighting to feel safe without being so bright that you feel exposed. Truck stops and 24-hour gyms deserve mention here too. Gyms, specifically the large chain ones that operate around the clock, have become something of an open secret in the vehicle-dwelling community. A membership that costs $10 a month buys you access to a shower, a bathroom, a place to change clothes, and a parking lot where vehicles coming and going at all hours is completely normal. Nobody questions why a car is in that lot at 3 in the morning. People work night shifts. People have insomnia. People are weird about when they exercise. The gym parking lot does not care. Secret number 5, hospital and church parking. These are the two location types that almost nobody outside the vehicle-dwelling community talks about, and they are two of the most reliable overnight options in the country. Hospitals first. A hospital that operates around the clock has visitor parking that is, by its nature, occupied at all hours. People park there at midnight because their mother just had a stroke. People park there at 3 in the morning because their wife went into labor. People park there and sit in their cars and cry for an hour and nobody questions it. A vehicle in a hospital visitor lot overnight is invisible not because nobody is around, but because nobody has any reason to question why it is there. The unwritten rule in most hospital lots is what vehicle dwellers sometimes call the grace period. Security staff at most hospitals are focused on building access, not parking lot enforcement. Unless a vehicle has been flagged or is blocking something, a car in the visitor lot overnight is not a priority. This is especially true at larger regional hospitals with multiple parking structures where a single overnight vehicle is genuinely impossible to track. Churches are the other location, and they work for the opposite reason. Most church lots are completely empty from Sunday afternoon until the following Wednesday evening at the earliest. That is 3 days of an entirely vacant lot in a location that typically sits in a residential neighborhood where unusual vehicles would be noticed, but a single car parked quietly near the building is easy to explain. Maintenance worker, someone using the food pantry, someone meeting with the pastor. Several vehicle dwellers interviewed in community forums have described developing informal relationships with specific churches where a staff member or pastor became aware of their situation and quietly allowed overnight parking without making any formal announcement about it. Nobody puts up a sign, nobody writes a policy, one person knows and they choose not to call anyone. Secret number 6, reading a lot before you park. This one is a skill, and like most skills, it sounds simple when you describe it and only becomes genuinely useful after you have practiced it enough times that it happens automatically. Experienced vehicle dwellers can assess a parking lot in under 3 minutes before committing to it for the night. Here's what they are actually looking at. Signs first. Not just the no overnight parking signs, which are obvious, but the smaller ones. Private property managed by a towing company, surveillance in use, security patrol notices posted near the entrance. Those signs tell you not just that the lot is monitored, but that someone is paying for enforcement, which means someone cares. Lighting next. A lot that is too dark feels unsafe and draws a different kind of attention. A lot that is blazing with stadium-grade lighting makes you visible to anyone driving by. The ideal lot has enough ambient light to feel normal, from a nearby streetlight or a business sign, but no floodlights aimed directly at parking spaces. Other vehicles. A lot with a few other vehicles in it overnight is almost always safer than an empty lot. Other vehicles normalize your presence. An entirely empty lot at midnight means either the lot is restricted or the location is unusual enough that nothing else stops there. And either one of those is a reason to keep moving. Dumpsters and loading docks. If a lot has a loading dock that gets deliveries at 4 in the morning, you will find out the hard way if you are parked near it. Experienced dwellers identify these and park on the opposite end of the lot. That is it. Signs, lighting, other vehicles, loading activity. 3 minutes, then you decide. Secret number 7, the neighbor relationship. This is the one that takes the longest to build and pays off the most when it works. The most experienced long-term vehicle dwellers almost always have at least one person in their rotation who knows they are there. A business owner who parks in the same lot and has seen them enough mornings to nod hello. A security guard at a hospital who figured out the situation months ago and made a quiet decision not to escalate it. A church administrator who leaves a side door bathroom unlocked. These relationships do not happen by accident, and they do not happen quickly. They happen because vehicle dwellers who have been at this long enough understand that anonymity protects you up to a point, and after that point, a single human connection protects you far more. One man in Kansas City who spent nearly 3 years living in a pickup truck described meeting the owner of a small auto parts store whose lot he had been parking in for 6 weeks. The owner knocked on his window one morning, not to tell him to leave, but to ask if he was all right. They talked for 20 minutes. The owner told him he could park there as long as he needed, that he opened at 8 and left at 6, and that the lot camera was on a recorder nobody ever actually checked. That conversation cost nothing. It changed everything. You cannot engineer this. You can only be honest when the opportunity presents itself, and experienced vehicle dwellers develop a sense for when that moment is safe. Mistake number 1, the light giveaway. This one gets people caught more than almost anything else, and it is completely preventable. A phone screen inside a dark vehicle at midnight is visible from 50 feet away. An interior dome light that flicks on when someone shifts position is visible from further than that. And steamed windows, which happen within about 20 minutes of a person breathing inside a closed vehicle on a cool night, are visible from the road at driving speed. The light problem gets solved with blackout curtains hung inside the vehicle. Not curtain rods visible from outside, interior panels, usually made from Reflectix insulation, or black felt fabric cut to fit each window precisely and held in place with small suction cups or Velcro. From outside, the windows look dark. From inside, there is complete blackout. The vehicle looks unoccupied. That is the goal. The phone screen problem gets solved with a blanket. This sounds ridiculous. It is also effective. Mistake number 2. The routine predictability is the enemy. A vehicle that appears in the same lot on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday nights gets noticed by the third Friday. Human brains are pattern recognition machines, and the brain of a business owner, a security guard, or a neighbor who glances out their window at the same parking lot every evening is very good at noticing when something new has become a regular feature. The rotation map from secret number 1 solves most of this. But the subtler version of the mistake is behavioral routine. Parking in the same corner of different lots, always arriving at the same time, always leaving at exactly the same time. Patterns within patterns. The most experienced vehicle dwellers vary their timing and position deliberately, even when they are tired, even when it feels unnecessary. Mistake number 3, the wrong conversation. Vehicle dwellers who overshare or who misjudge who they are talking to in a parking lot often create problems that would never have existed if they had simply said nothing. A security guard who does not know someone is sleeping in a vehicle has no reason to act. A security guard who has been told directly is now in a position where doing nothing feels like a choice they have to justify. Most of the time, the knock does not come because someone saw something suspicious. It comes because someone said something that made the situation undeniable. The experienced rule is simple. If someone approaches you in a lot and asks a direct question, be vague and be brief. Waiting for a friend, just resting for a bit before a long drive, and then, if possible, move on before they have a reason to come back. Mistake number 4, the messy vehicle. Visible clutter is a flag. Bags piled on back seats, clothing draped over headrests, boxes and bins stacked to the window line. These things tell anyone who glances through the window that this vehicle belongs to someone who is living in it. And a vehicle that obviously belongs to someone living in it invites the kind of attention that a neatly organized interior does not. The storage discipline required to keep a vehicle looking unoccupied from the outside while also functioning as a full-time living space is genuinely impressive. Tubs with lids that stack flat, clothing in compression bags, everything below the window line. Experienced vehicle dwellers describe this as one of the most psychologically difficult parts of long-term vehicle living, because maintaining that level of order when you are exhausted and stressed requires a kind of daily effort that most people only understand after they have tried it. This one is straightforward and still costs people more than almost any other mistake. No overnight parking signs mean what they say, not sometimes, not except on weekends. They mean a property owner or a municipality has decided that overnight parking in that location is a violation, and violations have consequences, a fine, a tow. In some jurisdictions, following the Supreme Court's 2024 ruling in Grants Pass versus Johnson, which made it legal for cities to fine and even jail homeless people for sleeping outside even when no shelter beds are available, the consequences have become more severe. The Grants Pass decision changed the legal landscape in ways that are still rippling through cities across the country. What used to be a situation where the worst outcome was a knock and a request to move has, in some places, become a situation with real legal exposure. Reading signs before parking is not optional. It takes 30 seconds. It is the one mistake on this list that has no upside at all and no excuse. What these 7 secrets actually reveal has nothing to do with parking lots. They reveal the level of intelligence, discipline, situational awareness, and sheer exhausting effort required to survive in America when the housing system has no room for you. The rotation maps, the timing windows, the blend-in vehicles, the carefully managed relationships with security guards and business owners, none of that is laziness. None of it is a lifestyle choice. It is a full-time cognitive load carried by people who are also trying to hold down jobs, keep their kids in school, maintain relationships, and find a way back to something stable. There are approximately 745,000 people doing some version of this tonight. Some of them are in Walmart lots, some are in hospital visitor parking, some are in church lots where a single person made a quiet human decision not to make a phone call. And the real question, the one that these 7 secrets force you to sit with, is not how they figured all this out. It is why we built a country where figuring this out became necessary. A Girl Scout troop in Seattle put cookies in the dresser drawer of a tiny home they built for someone they would never meet. A junkyard owner in Detroit told a mother to keep her $7 and handed her the keys to a condemned school bus. An auto parts store owner in Kansas City decided one morning that asking if someone was all right mattered more than asking them to move along. The secrets are real. The ingenuity is real. And the fact that any of it is necessary, that 750,000 people have had to become experts in the art of disappearing just to survive the night, that is the conversation we keep almost having and never quite finishing. Hit subscribe if this is the kind of story that should be told. I cover what is actually happening out there every week. The video on screen right now connects directly to what you just watched. Click it and keep going.